Good morning. We are going to start with the cell physiology, and the first lecture is about the total body fluid. Our objective today is first of all describe the body fluids, types, contents and compartments, define the homeostasis and explain how this concept is used in the physiology and medicine. Describe the nature of extracellular, intracellular compartments of the body fluids and explain the significance of these compartments. First of all, body fluid. In an average young adult male, we have 18% of body weight is protein and related substances, 7% is minerals and 15% is fat. The total is 40%. The remaining 60% is water, or we call it the total body water. Total body water, which is 60% of body weight, can be divided into two compartments. We have extracellular fluid, about third of the total body water or total body fluid, usually about 20% of the body weight, and 2/3 is intracellular fluid that that's equal to 40% of the body weight. The extracellular fluid usually divided into two compartments, 3/4 about 50% outside the blood vessels اللي نسميها بالinterstitial fluid, والquarter about 5% inside the blood vessels اللي نطلق عليها اسم البلازما. The composition of plasma usually similar to the composition of extracellular fluid in general, except the plasma protein are more than the protein presented in the interstitial fluid. The transcellular fluid is part of extracellular fluid. نطلقها على cerebrospinal fluid and aqueous humor of the eye. This fluid usually separated from extracellular fluid and it was situated in specific places and it is of small volumes. Total body water content varies in the body from one person to another. Depend on the fat content, depend on the sex, on the age. إذا البرسن يكون fatty person, fat cells contain little water, where the lean tissue, skeletal person, usually rich in water. Total body water also lower in women than men, and both of them, the value of the total body water going to decrease with the progressive age. The ratio of extracellular fluid to intracellular fluid volume usually larger in infants and small babies, children, than the adult. Therefore, the dehydration develops more rapidly and more frequently and more dangerous, more severe in children than adult. If the child exposed to gastrointestinal defect, vomiting, diarrhea, there will be loss of water and there will be dangerous for having the dehydration. All body fluids have the same pH, which is 7.4 plus minus 0.05, which is slightly less in intracellular fluid. This is because of the metabolism. Usually inside the fluid, the intracellular fluid, usually relatively acidic after the metabolism, but it is ال pH in general عادة تتراوح ما بين يكون 7.4 plus minus 0.05 for all the body fluids compartments. And all the body fluids should have the same osmolarity, which is 290 milliosmol per liter, but it differ in the ions. طبعا دائما الايونز distribution of ions اللي الصوديوم, potassium, chloride and other عادة ما تكون متساوية بالconcentration inside the cell from outside the cell. This is depend upon the the physiology of that tissue, the function of that cell, وعادة this depend upon the selective permeability of the cell membrane. عادة extracellular fluid contains large quantities of sodium but only small quantities of potassium. and exactly يعني there will be opposite situation بالنسبة للintracellular fluid. Extracellular fluid also contain large quantities of chloride, while the intracellular fluid contain very little chloride. The concentration of phosphate and protein in intracellular fluid are considerably greater than that in extracellular fluid. The plasma protein, usually about 7.3 gram per deciliter. The protein inside the plasma much more than the protein inside the interstitial fluid. نسميه يعني protein in the interstitial fluid يكون surround the cells. عادة تكون about 2 gram per deciliter, and the يعني wherever the protein presented عادة يكون مرتبط بما يسمى بالأوزموتيك بريشر أو يسمونه الأونكوتيك بريشر. البروتين الموجود بالبلازما مسؤول عن ما يسمى بالبلازما أوزموتيك أو بلازما أونكوتيك بريشر، والبروتين موجود بالانترستيشال فلويد مسؤول عن الانترستيشال أوزموتيك بريشر أو الانترستيشال أونكوتيك بريشر. عادة البلازما أونكوتيك بريشر about 228 millimeter of mercury, and this pressure very important to prevent the loss of water from from the vessels, from يعني the blood from intravascular compartments. عادة إذا صار البريشر يعني البلازما أوزموتيك بريشر أقل من هذا المقدار راح يصير عندنا leak of water from intravascular compartment to interstitial fluid outside. عادة البلازما أوزموتيك بريشر هي 28 ملم of mercury. من تتكون تقريبا 19 ملم of mercury because of the protein that presented in the plasma, و 9 ملم of mercury usually due to the sodium. The roots يعني of gain and roots of loss of water. لما نجي على الووتر gain عادة healthy person, normal person يعني gain the water or gain the fluids from the from oral route. عادة from drinking, from eating. This is the normal route to يعني to the water gain. If the person suffer from any illness يعني مثلا let's say after operation for example accident, فعادة نحطها على الانترافينوس فلويد، يعني يكون التغذية مالته أو المصدر مالته الفلويد يكون يعني بانترافينوس روت. وأحيانا إذا مثلا عنده something inside the body مثلا let's say after operation أو something ممكن يسموه enteral route، يعني نخلي له ما يسمى بالنيزوغاستريك تيوب ويدفعوا له الفلويد عن طريقها. الwater loss طبعا many organs that is help to lose the excess water. For example the first يعني خلينا نقول the vital organ هو الكدنيز بالدرجة الأولى، وتجي بعدها اللانجز وتجي بعدها السكين والجاستروانتستينال تراكت. What are the functions of body fluids? عادة body fluids are in constant motion, maintain healthy living conditions for all the body cells. عادة يعني total body water should have relatively equal in pH, in osmolarity, and the distribution of the يعني minerals usually in a manner that maintain the normal life of the living cells. نفس الوقت it is responsible to يعني transport the many materials يعني nutrient materials, hormones, drugs, even the يعني harm materials اللي هي مثلا البكتيريا والفيروسز. So we call the internal environment of the body اللي هو ما يسمى بالhomeostasis, keeping normal internal environment of our body. يعني عادة الخلية الحية حتى تعيش بظروف طبيعية لازم كل شيء حولها طبيعي، ومنه اللي يكون مسؤول عن النظام الطبيعي حول الخلايا هو التوتال body fluid. عادة with normal content, with normal pH, with normal osmolarity, keeping normal internal environment and normal living and normal function of the living cells. So the body fluids is a complex mixture of substances that include proteins, ions, organelles dissolved in water. We have many compartments. We have intracellular compartments, we have extracellular compartments, and usually donate the يعني طبعا البودي fluid it is الانترسيلر كومبارتمنت عادة يحتوي على minerals وبروتينز و extracellular compartment divided into intravascular and interstitial, and transcellular fluid usually يعتبر part of extracellular fluid بس يعني يكون موجود في أماكن معينة ويكون small in amount. وعادة total body fluids vary from one person to another according to the age, to the sex, and to the total body fat, and should have relatively equilibrium in pH and in osmolality. We have some questions about this lecture وعادة يعني نتمنى أن تكون المحاضرة مفهومة، وشكرا جزيلا.